Nimrod. Thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
So, GetTaxi, tell us a little bit about your service that you provide.
Basically, we provide a service currently in 3 countries around the world, and soon we're going to have the US offering the GetTaxi experience. We work in Israel, London, and in Russia we work in Moscow and St. Petersburg. What we offer is a simple to use taxi app for instantly ordering a taxi through your smartphone, then enabling you to have full control over your taxi ride by providing you real-time location of the taxi, the picture of the driver with his name, the distance, the estimated time of arrival, car information, etc. And we top it up with a very great user experience based on the fact that you can rate the driver and always help us to give a better service to the passengers. You can share with your friends, earn miles just like airlines do. And on the other hand, what we give is a dedicated driver unit for the drivers who are in our circuit, which is very simple to use for them. It makes their taxi driving life much easier based on the fact that, one, we offer them a very reasonable dispatching fees compared to other circuits and stations that they join around the world. We benchmarked it in a very, very reasonable pricing metrics. We also give them even dispatching based on the fact that it's all computerized. Our algorithms are programmed to allocate the best taxi driver for the closest passenger. And we also create a virtual handshake between the driver and the passenger based on the fact that the driver gets the information about the passenger beforehand, and obviously the passengers gets all the information about the ride.
Wow, so that sounds amazing. How the idea originated? How did you come up with the idea?
Well, there are like 3 key points on originating this idea. First of all, there's the romantic situation where one of the co-founders of this company, Shachar Weisser, he's 38, a very successful internet entrepreneur, was in a need for a taxi while he was in a need to get to the airport in San Francisco, and there was no taxis available in his vicinity, and he sat with probably a nice lady, telling her how cool it would be if I could click for a taxi. And if I remember right, she told him, then why don't you do something like that? And 2 years later, here we are. Now, beside romantic stories, we need to also to base it on hardcore business facts. And basically, there are 2 kind of ideas that are business related behind the service. One is how we can do a real disruption in an industry which was barely tapped since the day you could either hail a taxi in the street or you can call a station and ask for a taxi. How we can bring technology, today's technology, and the new kind of user experiences into that world. And the second main business reasoning behind GetTaxi is how we can build a global grid, which is establishing a platform, just like electricity grids were built 100 and something years ago. We wanted to build a global grid based on taxis that are driving in the cities around the world, and this is basically the idea behind GetTaxi.
Right, so to put it in a simple way, someone downloads your application, right? And then he's somewhere, let's say in downtown of Tel Aviv, for instance, or London or Moscow. So what does he need to do to get a taxi?
He downloaded the application. He registered to the service by providing his mobile number, so we can confirm that him is the passenger. Once he opens the application, it should identify his location based on the GPS, which is inside the smartphone, in milliseconds, sometimes a second or 2, depending on the coverage and the area. But it should, 1, give him the exact pickup address, and also suggested addresses which are in the nearby vicinity, as well as points of interest. And now he only needs to say, get me a taxi. Now, it's not only get me a taxi, we also provide a full credit card payment with no commissions whatsoever. So he can say whether this ride is going to be cash or credit card. And once he clicks the Get Me Taxi on the payment terms, we have an amazing experience in Israel. There's about 30 seconds till we allocate you a taxi, and about 3 minutes till the taxi arrive, and the numbers are dramatically decreasing from month to month because we increase our supply and our coverage. And basically, that's the great experience. It's magic. It's like calling for a piece of metal on wheels and having it next to you within 3 minutes. That's the GetTaxi story. We always try to flavor it up with new kinds of we call it the Easter eggs within the taxi. For example, in Israel, we have a monthly newspaper that we give to passengers and drivers in the taxis, or we do brand partnerships, so you can, I don't know, order a GetTaxi cab and find yourself getting from the driver a new kind of coffee that was recently launched by a big firm, or even if it's a rainy day, then the driver would wait for you with an umbrella. So we're always thinking on how not to make it like a simple kind of service, but also simple service that brings you a cool, happy kind of experience.
That's just amazing. Are there any interaction between the taxi driver and the passenger?
Well, it's very territory-based. For example, Israel, Moscow, there is no bulk separating between the driver and the passenger. In Israel, I've been exposed to many amazing stories, like a driver playing harmonics for a passenger during the ride. I know that in Moscow we have in our fleet also some Mercedes S-Class. So a passenger is not expecting to get like this wow kind of car that comes and picks him up and has free Wi-Fi in it. By the way, we're going to offer free Wi-Fi pretty soon in all our GetTaxi cabs around the world. In London, it's different because there's a bulk separating between the driver and the passenger. It's always a question whether the passenger wants to be in conversation with the driver. It's basically up to them, but we should find, as I said before, we're trying to find like the happy points where we can do a better between the driver and the passenger. We're offering in our taxis for London passengers and tourists that comes to London. We also offer a £5 coupon to be redeemed for their first GetTaxi ride. So look it up if you're not familiar with the GetTaxi service. Whenever you ride in taxis, actually it's available as well in Israel and in Russia. Soon in New York and in other cities in the US.
How many people are involved right now in GetTaxi?
We have about 150 employees that are now scattered in 4 countries, and every country the R&D center is based in Israel, and we have other teams of developers around the world which are helping us server side, and we also have like crowdsourcing developers, for example, iPhone developers in South Africa. We're looking for very talented, sharp, engaged developers who can work with us, and we can work even though if they're not physically sitting in our offices. We have an amazing R&D team. So I'm inviting everyone who's listening to this or watching me to send us an email with their details if they think they have what we need. It's a great joy, having such an amazing operation built up and set up in less than 2 years of working. I'm with the company since day one, and for me it's just it's a joyride, a real joyride.
So it's only developers you're looking for, or maybe some other people as well?
Well, every country that we operate, we have a company which carries the following departments. We have the sales departments that are dealing with B2B people. So if you're a good salesperson and you got the right spark in the eye, well, definitely you should contact us. We have customer care, what we call the taxi angels, which are making sure that we maintain a high level of service, especially for business clients, which are in constant need for taxis. We work with companies such as Disney and PricewaterhouseCoopers, and many other Fortune 500 kinds of firms, Google, which you can find also on our website. So, we have to make sure that they are getting the best kind of service that we can offer them.
Speaking about your website, I think you can see it right now from my iPad, right?
Yes. We recently launched a website, actually. And you are now on our UK website.
This
you go
is UK
to Israel,
one.
You would see the taxis in Israel driving in the streets in the center of the country.
Right. All right. I mean, the website looks awesome and quite user-friendly. How do you approach the design of the website?
Well, we have it's not fair because it's like me telling you how my baby is beautiful and smart. But we have an amazing team of designers and programmers. This was the design entirely was done by the very respected Stas Udetov, who's located in San Francisco. And it's been a joint effort with all the teams. It's a combination of marketing and the integration the team within the R&D, because obviously one of the main reasons that we launched this site is to serve a very large need of SMBs, small medium businesses, which are in need for some kind of taxi account that can easily enable them instant taxi booking, managing all their accounts in real time through a dedicated website. They will be, now it's live actually in the UK, they will be able to put in their credit card, and then the taxi rides are accounted for their business accounts, and you can have multi-users use this service. So everything in this site should facilitate instant taxi ordering, managing your business or your private need for taxis, and obviously to give you some important information about GetTaxi, about who we are. We're going to be doing a very nice blog in every country, so you can stay up to the current beat with GetTaxi.
How does the business model of GetTaxi works? Do you charge commission based on each order?
Basically, the main two revenue channels for GetTaxi are based on the dispatch fees that the driver pays us for using the GetTaxi device and for getting the orders. And as I said earlier, this is benchmarked in a very reasonable price compared to market prices. Second, revenue generating channel is based on the businesses that we serve. There's in many cases, for example, in Israel, we work on a fixed price menu instead of meter rides. In the UK, it's a mix between meter and fixed prices. It varies from country to country. And we also have the credit card payment, which is a part of our revenue generating channels.
Great.
So I think a combination of all together, can create a very nice company.
So, for instance, let's imagine there is a taxi driver watching us right now, and he'd really like to work for GetTaxi. What does he need to do?
First of all, he can log into our website, send us his full details, and our driver acquisition unit will get to him as fast as possible. You need to be very service-oriented, engaged. He doesn't need to know a lot about technology, because what we offer the driver is almost a Fisher-Price plug-and-ride kind of device to use in the taxi. And we want to welcome every driver who's got what it takes to join us to this amazing GetTaxi family of drivers, family of employees, passengers, etc.
Great. So how you guys were financed originally? I read that you raised some investments, about $30 million?
Mm-hmm. We finished 3 rounds of investment. One was led by the 2 co-founders, Shachar Weiser, 38 years old, and Roy Moore, 35 years old, who came up with the idea and the seed money. Then we got another $10 million in finance from Access Industries, a company by Len Blobotnik. And then again, the 20 million round was led again by Access Industry. So all in all, yes, we raised a little bit more than $30 million.
Wow, that's some great results. So speaking about the place you registered, as far as I understand, your main headquarters is in Israel.
The main headquarters are in Israel, R&D is in Israel, yes, but every country that we operate, we have a full-fledged company ready to give the best service possible in each territory that we work in.
Right, because I think you're a unique company since you have this great representation in many places around. So could you just share your experience in terms of setting up a company in, whether it's Israel, United States, Russia, United Kingdom? What's the main difference? Where it is hard and where it is not that hard?
I wouldn't say hard. I would prefer using the word challenging. Well, in every country that we operate, and there are like different kinds of sectors that we need to take a look at, different kinds of verticals. For example, we need to understand what are the regulations in regard to taxi transportation in each industry. Obviously, it's different from every country. The Ministry of Transportation has its own rules on managing taxi and dispatching taxis. So we work with full compliance to market regulations. Funny thing is, we conducted surveys in every country that we wanted to roll to with taxi drivers, and we gave them like a long questionnaire that we really wanted to understand what they dream about, what they fantasize about, how they see their day to day, and much to my surprise, or maybe not much to my surprise, we found out that taxi drivers, in the UK, in Russia, in Israel, even in France, they more or less share the same kind of dreams and aspirations. So in that sense, a taxi driver in every country can almost see as as the same kind of DNA. The other challenges that we need to understand is, first of all, is how to do a smart penetration and launch of the service, achieving critical mass and balancing what we call the chicken and the egg. What do you supply first, taxis, or do you have more users downloading the app and then not having the supply? So in each country, we strategize it differently. As I said before, we were in compliance with all the state regulators and finance system and everything. So you need to have the best kind of team of accountants to give you the best advices and to maintain a high level of service, law services, etc., etc. And you're cool. And most important, I think, is the hiring. In every country, you need to have these people that are completely passionate, engaged, with the right spark in their eyes and the right smile in their heart to join this amazing family.
But I mean, what do you start with normally when you come up with an expansion? Let's say GetTaxi, you want to go to a new country. Let it be Spain, for instance. What would you start with in terms
First
of...
of all, we check what's the business potential within cities. For example, you mentioned Spain. So, assuming that two main cities that you want to roll to is Barcelona and Madrid. So we need to understand what's the taxi market size there. What is the common pricing metrics is for dispatch fees for drivers? What are the pain points of business users and private users? Once we analyze this, we compile this all together and we understand what's the market potential, then obviously we need also to understand what are the challenges that we're going to be facing based on regulation, based on competitors in each country. So we take everything into consideration, just to make sure that we do the best kind of rollout in every country that we want to give this wonderful service to.
And GetTaxi is quite an innovative concept, but I presume there might be some competitors who do more or less similar things. How do you approach competition? How do you stand out of the crowd?
Well, first of all, the main way to stand out is to make sure that everybody who orders a taxi gets a taxi, and not only gets a taxi, gets it as fastest way as possible and get the best experience you can within the taxi. There's also what we call retention in our use. So you make sure that you're in somewhat of a constant relationship with your clients. So standing out is one, making sure that you supply the taxis. Two, you create a very simple and engaging experience for the passengers and the drivers. And you can always learn from the competition as well. Actually, there's a lot of knowledge that we can accumulate and extract the right derivatives from. And we're very aware of other taxi apps. I think two main advantages that we have over competitions, if I generalize it, if I may, are based on the business service that we give and the fact that our drivers unit, currently we're using Windows CE, but we're about to replace all the driver units within a couple of weeks or a month with a fabulous new kind of device, which is fully dedicated for the driver use when he's driving his taxi, to offering amazing features. And competition, as far as I know, are now offering smartphone apps, which has its pros and cons. Obviously it's fast scaling, because every driver who has a smartphone can almost immediately join the circuit. But fast scaling is good, is important. But I think you can also you really need to make sure that you're getting the right quality of drivers, and you're giving your drivers the best attention that you can, because they have long days of driving in the streets, a lot of hail works from the streets. We try to, well, at least I believe that the GetTaxi passengers are also a very special kind of good passengers for every driver to have.
When it comes to hiring people, because you mentioned it a couple of minutes ago, what are the first qualities you're looking in candidates?
There are a lot of buzzwords that I can use here. Obviously, we want people who has this entrepreneurship kind of spirit to them. Not necessarily we're successful, but we even if you failed, it doesn't say anything about you. We want people that are team player, that are out-of-the-box thinkers, that are passionate about their life. Happy people in general, we believe that will help a company to be happy as an entity. I don't know if you know the Kabbalah, but we're looking for people with the light.
Great, so they can actually contribute. Let's talk a little bit about your marketing. Maybe you can say, some advices for people how to market your company. And also, what's the story about these London naked taxi drivers that you just, did some time ago?
It's almost a year ago, so that was a great initiative when we did consumer first launch in London. We wanted to have a social cause in relation with the naked cabbie calendar. There were a lot of cases where women did not arrive safely at home, and we wanted to make sure that this would show that we care about the people, and especially the women who takes the GetTaxi rides. So this was the initiative, to have our drivers in living colors, and we gave donation to Association for the Safety of Women. And going to marketing obviously in many cases, especially when you're launching a service, it's a question of trial and error. In our case, the funnel is very simple for us to understand. There's when a user encounters the message of GetTaxi, then he needs to download, to register, put his credit card or not put his credit card, and click and get a taxi. So I think we try to mixture when you're building a brand awareness, then you should use different kinds of strategies and tactics. PR, a good PR firm and good PR strategy is very important, because it reaches mass consumer. You're using the big publications to deliver the kind of story and message that you want to deliver to your audiences. We did some, we experienced with ATL and BTL kind of activities. I don't know if you're familiar with our Guinness breaking black cab. We circumnavigated the world with 3 British folks, getting 2 Guinness records for the longest taxi journey and for the highest place ever a taxi visited, which was base 1 of the Everest. So then again, it's an engaging story for people. It inspires them, and I hope that these kinds of activities gives them a certain connection to the brand the brand values that we're trying to deliver to our audiences. But these are channels that are nice to have. If you want to really do a smart crunch up of this funnel, I think pursuing partnerships with daily deal site is a very smart way to offer and expose your service to new audiences and offer them this great taxi experience. Also, the in-taxi recruitment, when you go now to a taxi in London or in Israel, you get from the driver a coupon with a code to use for your first taxi ride. So you do user acquisition in a nice way. And then again, there are other kinds of channels that we're pursuing, such as the obvious one, online advertising, STM, SEO is very important as well. We do a lot of mobile advertising, so it's regular channels, but we're always trying to outstand from our competitors, and I'm saying this on one and the other end. I want to maintain vanities. I want to maintain humbleness. So I hope that we find the right channels to deliver the right kinds of messages and stories.
Since you mentioned breaking up a world record, how does it work? I mean, to get in Guinness book, because that's the book that I read every day. There are plenty of great people on there. What does it take? Do you need to register your intention to have some people on board?
You need to file an official registration of the record that you're about to break. The funny story was that basically it was an idea that came up in the company. Shachar and myself, we like to fly high. And we said, well, how great it would be if we break a Guinness record. And I wanted to approach the team at the World Guinness Record Association in London. And I set up a flight to London. To be amazed, the night before the flight, I found out there was a team of 3 British young folks who already trying to break this record with the longest taxi journey. Initially, they were supposed to do London to Sydney. And instead of getting depressed by the fact that we've been outsmarted and we're a little bit late with the idea, we thought of, hey, if we can't beat them, let's join them. And we intercepted them when they were bruised, battered, and almost out of money, more than halfway through to Sydney. And we offered them this full-fledged sponsorship. And not only that, we told them, hey, guys, Sydney, London, nice. Remember Phileas Fogg and I think it's Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days? Let's do Around the World in 13 months. This was the journey time. And I personally had the honor to accompany them in San Francisco when they started their coast-to-coast tour, and in Israel, take them to Jerusalem. It was a very refreshing experience. Then meeting them and driving with them in the streets of Moscow and seeing the reaction of people. The taxi was obviously fully GetTaxi branded. And I think it conveyed very well the brand values and what we want to create within the market perception about our service and our brand.
That's quite a journey to do. So in one sentence, how would you sort of state the mission of GetTaxi?
We want to be the preferred in-city choice of ride, taking you from point A to point B based on the fact that we offer you simple click for taxi, simple payment, leave your car at home or sell it. We want to reduce the traffic jams within the city. We want to decrease the idle time of taxi drivers so they'll have more and more work. We want to help municipalities not only by decreasing the amount of cars that go into city, but we also want to reduce the pollution that is caused by the fact that there are so many cars driving within the street. That's our vision, and this is our mission.
Very ambitious. So since you guys are entrepreneurship, what is the drawbacks of being an entrepreneur? And what's the best side of it?
I think entrepreneurship starts in the heart. It's something that obviously is not meant for everyone. These are, psychology divides people into different kinds of personality types. So there's a certain type of the more adventurous and daring people that are also becoming entrepreneurs. Obviously in the UK you have the best example ever, Sir Richard Branson. The guy is an inspiring entrepreneur. He's gonna soon be an astronaut. He's a skydiver, a pilot. He's a very adventurous guy, and you can also see this in every touch point with his amazing Virgin brand. So I think, if you ask me, for example, who's my mentor or who I wish I follow his footsteps, it's definitely Mr. Branson.
Do you have any favorite Israeli entrepreneur?
Yes, I do actually. I'll give. I don't know if you're familiar with the name Yossi Vardi, but I'll give Yossi Vardi, who's like Israel's. He's like the daddy of all entrepreneurs in Israel. He actually inspired us all when he helped the company that was led by his son, ICQ, back in the days, to be sold to AOL for a small sum of $400 million. It was one of the most inspiring exits ever in the fastest time ever in Israel. So definitely Yossi Vardi, who's now almost, I call him an umbrella brand for entrepreneurship in this great startup nation called Israel. So I give him the utmost respect. But obviously you have now the owner, the founder of Checkpoint, which is more than $1 billion worth company, Mr. Gil Schwade. You have the guys from Conduit, who are now building a more than $1 billion company based on their smart distribution of toolbars. And there are so many other success stories. One of the biggest success stories in the recent years, if you ask me, is Waze. If you heard the name, Waze it's a social GPS. And Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, when people realized that the maps that the iOS user gets is not the greatest experience, he said, well, guys, I invite you to use Waze. For me, it says it all. I think it says it all. Now we just need to invite everybody to use GetTaxi, and we are going to be in the right place and the right time.
So what's the next step for GetTaxi?
First of all, we wanna deepen and increase our fleets in countries that we already operate in, and obviously we want to have an amazing U.S. launch pretty soon.
Great.
In New York. Obviously, we want to bring the people of New York the joy of GetTaxi.
So before we proceed to final part, the last question, sort of conceptual question. Speaking about the next 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years, which areas of business gonna boost and in which particular domains new fortunes gonna be made? From your perspective.
Well, I think that our biggest challenge is smartly managing our big challenge of supply, and obviously it's also based on fleet managing on a geographical base, because you can take a city as a city, but it's not just a city. It has so many variants that needs to be taken care of when you offer taxis to passengers that are living in center of the town and in the outskirts, and obviously expanding to large major cities in the country that we already operate. So this is a big challenge for us, opening new cities in the UK, opening new cities in Israel. We're about to launch now Jerusalem. We call it the Holy Rollout. So people of Jerusalem and tourists are going to be able to enjoy the GetTaxi service. That is our main, if you ask me, challenge that we need to make sure that we do the best way possible.
Great. So finally, we call it table tennis set of questions. When we ask you a simple question with several answers as an option, and you pick up one.
Okay.
All right.
I'll try.
All right. Steve Jobs or Bill Gates?
Steve Jobs.
iPhone, BlackBerry, or HTC?
iPhone.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Going to a party or staying home?
This is very seasonal for me. I like going to parties, but I like staying home. Sorry. Staying home.
Which car, BMW or Mercedes?
BMW.
Fruits and vegetables or fast food?
Fruits and vegetables.
Egg or chicken, what came first? You also mentioned this dilemma, so what was first?
Chicken.
Being married or not being married?
Being married. But I did it twice already. Going to my third time now.
That proves the choice. God believer or atheist?
God believer.
So, and the very last question, for those people who are watching us right now and thinking about starting up their own company but may have some doubts, what would you advise?
Soar high, see far, and everything you dream about can be turned into reality. Nimrod May from GetTaxi giving this amazing interview for these amazing people in In2up. Thank you.